Oh, yeah, you damn right. You know what I'm going to say. Recruiting never stops. It's the recruiting hour. It debuts Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Make sure you're here to check it out each and every Wednesday or whenever you are able to enjoy the show. We thank you guys for all those views. I'm Chad Hastings. That is Jason Sukamel of orangebloods.com. Got some big recruiting news, more big defensive line recruiting news, even though it kind of feels like offensive line recruiting news. We'll get to it. Plus, Jason threw out Q&A stuff this week, and people responded. We'll get you some of our favorites from the 321 article. That is coming up. But first, let's thank our great sponsor, Longhorn Wealth Management Group. We have told you about John and just how Longhorn he is. 6 siblings and his wife and John, all UT grads. And that's why it's called Longhorn Wealth Management Group. John wants to congratulate Mr. Chris Del Conte and the entire UT athletic program. Check this out. For winning the SEC All Sports Trophy. Some of you may have not even known that was a thing for the 24-25 school year, with 11 of UT's teams winning their SEC championships in their very first year in the conference. To celebrate that dominance, John is offering all Orange Bloods Live fans the opportunity to dominate their own financial future. See what he did there? By taking advantage of the free 90-minute private consultation we've been telling you about. You can learn how working with a certified financial planner like John can help you maximize your wealth, minimize your taxes, and ensure your legacy. Call 972-707-4900 or go to longhornwealth.net. John and the folks there obviously really excited. I'll be honest, Jason, a couple days ago, I did not realize there was such a trophy, but that's incredible that Texas wins that trophy.
You and John are telling me something new to me because somehow that slipped by me as well. So.
Right? But, I mean, it's a cool idea. I like the idea. And then if you're a Texas fan, holy mackerel, just you wanted to be a part of the discussion. You wanted to just fit in and be thought of as a power. You know, okay, you don't want to slip down to like mid-level or certainly you don't want to be in that Oklahoma territory right now. Did you like that, Texas fans? But to be where they are, Jason, is just has to exceed all expectations for everyone. I mean, geez, what a hell of a start.
Yeah, now they've got to capture one in the big. Well, I guess the baseball, does that count regular season?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm assuming that's part of it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, now then they were a whisper away for football. So let's see if they can go out and capture the football and or basketball and keep adding to that number.
Yeah. Played for football in the first year, right? Went to Atlanta in the very first year of the conference. A huge accomplishment. All right. So it is the recruiting hour. And we get you the very latest on the recruiting front. We'll get to those the Q&A discussion. But Jason, once again, and I think this might be 2 weeks in a row for us, we're going to start on the defensive side. Defensive line, technically, even though this guy we're talking about is also listed as a badass O-lineman. So let's get this Lamar Brown update. You've had a chance to talk to Lamar since our last recruiting hour. So this is going to be a good fill-in for people. But remind everybody just who we're talking about with Lamar Brown, because he is a big-time prospect.
Yeah, I think it's funny because Rivals updated their rankings on, I think it was Monday. They're going through it. He's now listed as an athlete, Chad. He was listed as an interior offensive lineman.
Wow.
Yeah, we mentioned, I think it's 24/7, maybe had him listed as a defensive lineman, number 1 defensive tackle in the country. Rivals had him previously as the number 1 interior offensive lineman in the country. Well, he's now listed as an athlete. So that's just, this guy's that talented.
Wow.
Yeah, you don't see that a lot, right?
I was just about to say, Jason,
like Jalen Lott, those types as an athlete, but not.
Let me just stop and ask you, because normally we know what that means when we hear athlete. It's the speedsters. It's like could you be the next Percy Harvin or what, or the next Dion or the next what? Do you ever remember a lineman getting that kind of love?
No, the closest I can think of, and maybe there was one, but not on my radar that I've ever covered. The closest I can think of was Jatavian Sanders, was a defensive end / tight end. So I think he was listed as an athlete, I believe. But no, I don't think I've ever seen an offensive lineman / defensive lineman listed as an athlete in my 3 years with Rivals.com. Yes.
Man, that is freaky stuff. All right. So, and this is a kid out of Baton Rouge, correct?
Yeah. University Lab. So it's right there on the LSU campus. Okay. So to be clear, Texas is recruiting him as a defensive lineman. Some schools are recruiting him as an offensive lineman, but Texas is recruiting him exclusively as a defensive lineman. He's not a 5-star, but I'm calling him a 5-star, Chad. He's number 25 in the country. They usually give out 32, 33, 31, whatever, 5-star designations right there in that area. So as long as he holds his position, and I think he will, if anything, I think Lamar Brown might move up. He'll be a 5-star as they extend out those rankings. I'm not exactly sure how many they've given out just yet, but he's ranked number 25 in the country. I mentioned he's at a university lab in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Texas has been in the race kind of for a long time, and they offered him a long time ago, but things really got interesting with the hiring of Alan Clark, the defensive or the edge coach, which we've talked about him a bunch lately too, right? So,
Yep.
Including last week with Lamar Brown and a bunch of other prospects. Well, Alan Clark went out and visited Lamar this spring while he's out on the road, and Lamar tweeted like, "Oh, might have to give Texas a visit or something like that." And people on Orange Bloods asked me, "He's like, hey, is Texas a player in this?" And I was like, "Not really. You know, I didn't think much of it. It was so far down the road with A&M, with LSU. Those are kind of the main competition. Miami's involved there, but everybody kind of thought it was A&M and LSU. Well, Alan Clark goes and visits him. Lo and behold, he does set up that visit. He's coming into Austin next weekend, so we'll probably be talking about him again next week and then after his visit. But it was interesting. Like, I'm just going to kind of go through some of the quotes when I just talked to Lamar Brown on Sunday. Okay, so these are pretty fresh. So these are from the weekend. He said, "With Coach Clark, I've been knowing him since I was small. I believe he has a chance to coach me at the next level." He said he's from Baton Rouge, and this is where it gets really interesting. When I was like in 5th and 6th grade, his dad coached me in middle school basketball.
Wow.
And his dad was telling me about his son, and I used to go to his son's camp. So he would go to Alan Clark's football camps. And then when Alan Clark was at Southern University, he was the first or second coach to offer me a scholarship. So their relationship goes back, what 5 years or better now. So, I went into this call with Lamar Brown thinking probably a little bit of a pipe dream for Texas to win this one. I came out of this call and I said it on our team's chat thing. I said, "Hey man, I think Texas has a sneaky chance in this thing because of this relationship." And the reason I feel like that is because they've known each other for so long. And when I asked Brown, how is he going to separate one school from the pack? It's LSU, Texas A&M, Texas, and Miami. Those are the 4 that he's focused on. He said, he goes, "I'm a big relationship guy. It's going to come down to relationships and development." Well, who's got a better relationship than Alan Clark in this one? So, we'll see. Like I said in my column, I'm not telling everybody to go bet their life savings on Texas winning out here, but I do think the Longhorns have a legitimate chance.
All right, Jason, let's reiterate those schools again. Texas, Texas A&M, LSU, and who was the 4th? Miami, you said?
Miami. He's actually going to Miami this weekend. So in a couple of days, he'll be hitting Miami for his official visit. Then he goes Texas on the 6th, Texas A&M on the 13th. LSU does get the last crack at him on the 20th. So that's something to watch because he wants to commit. What did he tell me? July 10th is the day he told me he wants to commit. And let me throw this quote in there, Chad. I asked him, I said, "Hey, I said, are you kind of focused on those 4 schools?" He said, "Yes. I've always heard LSU and A&M are the 2 teams to beat." Okay. Maybe LSU slightly ahead. And then a big gap to everybody else. I said, "Hey, Lamar," I said, "you've got these visits." I said, "I know things can shake things up, but do you have 1 or 2 schools standing out right now?" In his quote, "I like Texas a lot right now." Maybe he knew who he was talking to, but I was like, okay, he didn't mention LSU or A&M. I'm a big relationship guy. Coach Clark knows me from a standpoint beyond football. If I'm in a room with him, he knows me on the field, off the field. Then he went on to say all schools are pretty even, but I'm big on relationships and development. So
that's the 3rd time you've said the word relationship.
Yeah. It was interesting that he threw out Texas. He said, "I'm big on Texas." He didn't say, and then later in the quote, he said, all the schools are even. So I don't know. I thought that was pretty even. Like I said, I'm not necessarily predicting Texas right now, But I do think Texas is very much in the race for this one.
Yeah, and it really does sound like that relationship matters. To remind everybody here, Alan Clark, we talked about him last week on a couple shows, but just to reiterate, a Louisiana guy. He played at Northwestern State and at Grambling, and then has coached at not only Prairie View, which obviously wouldn't be in Louisiana, but then ended up at Southern, like Jason mentioned. So he's been in the region with all those connections. Came to Texas from Ohio State, of course, but that connection, I mean, we talk about it all the time, Jason, that relationships, sometimes it matters. It's a little different, maybe player to player, but we hear it more and more nowadays about how that relationship stuff can be a big deal. To go all the way back to middle school, to go back, that Alan Clark's dad coached him.
Yeah. How about that? Like, lucky fortune, if you will. You know that, hey, my dad coached in middle school basketball. Yeah,
it's something so specific. We've discussed it with Coach Orfe and that North Shore, the Galena Park North Shore connection, right? Mm-hmm. And that's it's just something that nobody else could have, even though he's right there in Baton Rouge. LSU doesn't have that. LSU doesn't have Alan Clark. So that could
hopefully
really.
His dad was a good and well-liked middle school basketball.
Yes. Right?
Your dad coached me in middle school. He sucked.
He was terrible. He was mean to me. It was awful. But it does feel like we talked about last week, Alan Clark has a connection with these guys. Alex Dunlap on the Modcast last week with us was telling us that he's hearing from his sources it's the office where players want to go hang out. Yeah. Offense, defense, all kinds of guys that they want to go hang out in Alan Clark's office. He's just that type of dude. He's a young relationship guy.
We had a bunch of guys tell me, recruits, he's young, he's relatable. They can relate to him, just on the field, off the field. That's the term everybody uses. He's relatable. So, he's done a great job. I mean, I highlighted him in this column last week. And Lamar Brown was just kind of a note in passing at that point. There are a lot of other recruits that talked about him in my column last week. But, like Alex said, I mean, there's guys who are from Ohio State in the pros that are saying, I want to get down to Austin to see Coach Clark and see what's going on what he's got going on down there in Austin. So clearly he does well with recruits. He does well once they're on campus, just connecting with those guys, relating with those guys, and building bonds with those guys.
And again, to be clear, you're saying it is the June 6th, that first weekend that he's coming to Texas? That is set?
June 6th, yeah. And he was previously going to visit Florida State. He kicked them out to put Texas in there. And like I said, he told me, I don't think he's ever released like a top 4 or 5, but I probably should go run to Twitter or X and blast that, because he did tell me those 4 schools that he's visiting, those are the ones he's focused on. And only those schools, by the way.
I'm going to guess, Jason, you're telling me Texas looks at him as a defensive badass. And if he's discussing the relationship with Alan Clark, I'm guessing he's at least receptive to the discussion of Alan Clark explaining to him why he can help make him a defensive badass. We've discussed Alan Clark. He's got CEO of LC Performance. He's got names like Ed Oliver and Jeffrey Simmons technically on his resume, that guys he's worked with that are obviously, go on to be studs in the NFL. So even if we don't know for sure, and I'm not sure if you asked Lamar this specific question, but it feels like Lamar is also comfortable with that idea of going defense. Is that fair?
Yeah, he did say they're recruiting him exclusively on defense. Now, he would be probably an interior guy, so Kenny Baker would probably be his main coach. I mean, he's 6'5", 292. I mean, that would be a very big edge player, but listen, you'd always have Alan Clark standing right beside you on the field. His office would be right there. So, Kenny Baker is going to have to be involved here too, to some degree. But yeah, Texas is talking to him about defense. And I believe the other schools are mostly about offense. I need to double check on that.
Yeah. The other thing that jumps out to me is we've always thrown in ingredients of the family stuff or whatever. This wouldn't be one of those local discussions. This is a bit of a trip, right? Baton Rouge to Austin is what, 5-6 hours, something like that, if you're driving it. Mm-hmm. So the family needs to feel good about it. And that relationship, it stood out to me, Jason, when he says he knows me on the field and off the field. I don't think kids say those things accidentally. I think the idea to him of, I'm in Austin, something's going on, I'm having an issue, I'm having trouble in class, or whatever it is, like, I know there's somebody that remembers me as a 10-year-old or 12-year-old or whatever it is. He's known me so long that I just don't think those things get said accidentally.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, there's a lot of elements that go into this. Alan Clark's relationship has kicked the door wide open, right? It's not cracked open, it's wide open. But you still got to close. You've still got to win over, like you said, the family. You've got to make everybody comfortable with the idea of him leaving home. I mean, you said you're right. I mean, I don't know exactly, but I'm guessing about 6 hours away versus he's literally pretty much in LSU's backyard right now. So, I mean,
he's right there.
but
Yeah.
he's made a ton of trips to like Texas A&M, obviously LSU a bunch. And I don't know how updated these are, but I know he's been to A&M a bunch. So clearly he's pretty open to the idea of leaving the state of Louisiana, leaving that
Right.
Baton Rouge pocket. So, you know,
And especially with the fourth one being Miami too.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I don't know how strong of a player Miami is. I mean, they're getting an official visit, so they're definitely in the mix. And I mean, like I said, relationships are going to come into play. You know, I think academics will probably come into play. I mean, let's be honest. NIL is going to be a major factor when these are 4 schools with big NIL opportunities that will be presented. So,
God, I hadn't thought of that, Jason. You're right. Those 4, when it comes down to NIL time, look out.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, if there was Oregon in there, then I'd be like, okay, you might have the 5 of the top 1. I mean, you got Ohio State, Georgia, but yeah, I mean, Miami, big NIL program. LSU is upped its NIL game. Obviously, Texas and Texas A&M have capabilities. So, you know, NIL is going to play a factor, and we'll talk about this in the Q&A here in a little bit. But it's not the only factor. You've got to open the door with relationships, with building trust, with building confidence, playing time, those types of things. So Texas has opened the door. Now can they slam it shut with their official visit in 2 weekends from now? You know, we'll see.
Great news there, Texas fans. We'll see where it goes. Lamar Brown, the badass, until recently, interior lineman. He's interior offensive lineman. Is he an interior defensive lineman? He's so damn good. Rivals thinks he's an athlete now. They're just going to go ahead and throw that out. That's incredible. But he does have the official visit on the 6th. And if you want to go check out more of those quotes and the notes from him on Orange Bloods, go find the 321 article this week. It is always great. This week, it's got those notes in it. And then a little later on, you got a layout. Jason lays out for you June 6th, June 13th, and June 20th, the updated list of names, those big names that are coming in each of those weekends. So go check that out. Speaking of the 321, there's also Q&A. We will get to the Q&A stuff here in just a second after we give Specs a little love as you're watching our shows, the live shows. You got the Specs chat rolling all the time. Get stocked up at Specs. There is a tequila sale going on. Pay attention.
It's tequila time. Who's ready for a margarita? Shake things up all month long with discounts on Blancos, Reposados, and Añejo tequila during Specs Tequila Sale.
Texas baseball and softball both still alive. Might be a good reason to get stocked up on your tequila. Before we get to Q&A, let me hit you again with Longhorn Wealth Management Group. Speaking of baseball and softball, that's one of John's focuses right now. Remember, John's up in the Dallas area. So if you're a Dallas area Texas fan, so is he. For 15 years, he was a board member up at the Dallas, Texas Exes chapter, but now he's leading the build out in Collin County. So if you live in Collin County, feel free to reach out to John, get on that Collin County, Texas Exes email list for upcoming events. John is pumped about softball advancing to the World Series again. Baseball is hosting a regional this weekend in Austin as the #2 national seed. To celebrate both those programs and their success, again, John is offering you, the Orange Bloods Live fans, a free 90-minute private consultation. Learn how working with a certified financial planner like John can help you continue to build and manage your own financial successes, and to discover how you can truly maximize your wealth, minimize your taxes, and ensure your legacy. That free 90-minute consultation is yours. You just need to call 972-707-4900 or check them out at longhornwealth.net. And certainly, John and the folks there at Longhorn Wealth Management Group send the best out to Longhorn baseball and softball, both still very much alive. Softball, a little tighter than they wanted it to be, but they got it done. They got it done. There's no clock in those two sports. You just got to get the outs. And Texas's opponents couldn't quite get enough outs. Nice job by Coach White's Longhorns getting to another Women's College World Series. Now we all know what the issue is. They do it in Oklahoma City, and Oklahoma's badass, and they've won 4 in a row. So we all know what the thing is there. All right, Jason, let's get to some of these Q&As. I know you threw it out in the 3-2-1. I know you get a lot of good response from it. So I picked 5 that stood out to me, and I couldn't resist these 2 names. Let's just go ahead and throw it out. Thank you to whoever threw this question out. Between Ojo and Turntine, does Texas get both? Do they get one or the other, or do they get neither? How dare you suggest neither? We don't want to live in that world. Jason, what do you think?
Wasn't it Cody Carpentier, our man Cody, said like in the chat one time I think we were doing the modcast, like that he thought Texas was going to get neither. Or he said that on his show or something. I don't remember. And I was like, Cody, get out of here with that stuff.
Rude. That's rudeness. That's what that is.
Exactly. The way I answered that in my column, and these are questions to be clear. These are, I solicit on Orange Bloods. Hey, send me some recruiting questions, and our subscribers send these in. So I don't make these up. But the way I answered it, Chad, I said, I think it's possible Texas can get both. Okay, Felix Ojo, John Turntine, both these stud offensive tackles. I do think it's a possibility. But if I had to guess, I think they probably get one out of the 2. Neither one of those guys is afraid of playing with the other. But it's just kind of common sense. They've already got Max Wright committed. If you get maybe one of these other guys and you get Ojo or Turntine to pull the trigger in Texas's direction, it's going to be hard to get the last shoe to drop there. And for a while, I've kind of favored Felix Ojo being in this class over John Turntine. Well, I'm kind of shifting there. Like now, maybe 50-50, or I might even favor Turntine being in this class. I think Turntine legitimately is going to come down to like Texas or Texas A&M. I know he's got Michigan involved there, he's told me, but I really think it'll be an in-state battle for Turntine. Ojo, while I have Texas as the leader, it's a little bit more broad. I mean, he's got Florida he liked. He's got Ohio State. I mean, he's visiting. Where is Felix? I can't even keep up where he's visiting anymore from week to week. He's already taken 4 visits. He's at Ohio State this weekend, so that's a huge visit. Michigan, June 6th. He'll be at Oklahoma. He's visited Ole Miss. He's visited Colorado, which they're not really a factor. Texas Tech. I mean, hey, don't laugh at the idea of Texas Tech being a factor. They're really being aggressive in their pursuit. So, I'm the short answer is I'm going to predict one of the 2 will be in this class. And he didn't ask me which one, whoever sent that in, but I'm almost starting to shift towards Turntine being in this class over Felix Ojo, just because Felix is so spread out. There's nobody, to be clear, there's nobody I'd put above Texas for Felix Ojo. But when he's got 5 or 6 legitimate options, well, that makes things a little bit more unpredictable and unstable.
The man's thorough. The man likes to
he does, and he is. Like he's going to take, I think it'll wind up being 8 official visits, which might be an all-time high for any recruit I've ever covered. So that's quite a bit.
That's good. And it sounds like it's just going to be like 8 really interesting. Like, he's going to take 8, and like Lubbock will be the least interesting long shot.
Yeah, he went to Lubbock and then Boulder, like I think back-to-back weeks, maybe even. So, like, how do those 2 compare? And here it is. Colorado is not even in contention, but Texas Tech is. So
that's
maybe
wild.
Maybe the mountains didn't do it for him, I guess, right?
All right, there you go. Yeah, that's right. Now he did have a lot of good things to say about the mountains.
He did. That was what he said was the highlight of the visit, actually.
But yeah, maybe the more he thought about it, he's like, well, I can't just go for the mountains. Maybe we need more than that. So there's your Ojo Turntine discussion. Another big discussion that's out there for Texas fans. The idea of a legacy is one thing, but the idea of a legacy when the legacy is really good is a whole nother thing. And there's 2 of them out there in this 2026 discussion. And Jason, here's the question as it came in on Orange Bloods to you. Do we land both legacy kids? And I added Lott and Finley so we know who we're talking about.
Yeah, Jalen Lott, the athlete, and Caden Finley is more of a pure receiver. And my answer was similar. I know I'm kind of straddling the fence here, but I said I think they get one. I mean, I think it's right now. My last information with Jalen Lott came directly from Jalen, but was that Oregon was the team to beat, Now,
Hmm.
he's going to take these official visits. Has that shaken things up a little bit? Possibly, possibly. But Oregon was the team to beat pretty clearly going into his official visits. Caden Finley, there's a lot of talk about Notre Dame maybe being the team to beat there, but I'm still slightly favoring Texas just based on a few things I've heard. Jalen Lott, by the way, has Oregon visit on the 20th, so they get the last visit. Texas is the 13th. So, the Rivals database is not updated because I know he's been to like Georgia and a couple other places. But I think Jalen Lott probably comes down to Oregon and Texas the way things stand right now. I think Caden Finley comes down to Notre Dame and Texas. I slightly favor Texas's chances with Caden Finley more than I do with Jalen Lott, but I do think there's a lot of room for movement in both those recruitments.
And then for people say and Lott, you discussed this. Lott is one of those guys that is that athlete type, that stereotypical athlete type, could be defense and offense.
Exactly. And Texas originally was recruiting him as a cornerback, as a secondary player in the secondary, with the opportunity to play some offense, some special teams. Well, lately they've kind of picked up their talk about possibly playing offense. I know when Texas did an in-home visit about a month ago in the spring, Chris Jackson was one of the coaches that did the in-home visit. I think it was Mark Orfe was the other, I believe. So they've kind of picked up their intensity of recruiting him as an offensive player. I'm sure they're still talking to him about doing both positions. Oregon has been talking to him about offense. And I'll tell you why that's key. Now, Jalen Lott has said, I don't care, offense or defense, it doesn't matter. Whatever gets me on the field, wherever I have a brighter future, that's what I'll do. But he's also said, I want to be coached by someone who really knows that specific position, has a lot of expertise, experience. Well, Chris Jackson played in the NFL. He's got skins on the wall as a coach, right? In the NFL, and obviously in college, he's done really well developing guys. So that, I think, is really going to help Texas. Oregon's coach, I don't know his name, but I did look at his history when Jalen told me this, and he's got a good track record, but he's a former running back who's now coaching receivers. So just something to file away. I think Chris Jackson being involved there could really help Texas's chances.
Interesting. And then just to clarify on Finley, Caden Finley, if he follows dad's footsteps, is it at tight end or is there another position for him?
He'd be a wide receiver. So he'll be catching passes, but he'll
more
be
more of a true wide receiver. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. That's something I would recommend to those kind of kids too. Do something slightly different than dad did. If dad was a badass, right? Just slightly different. Just don't try to do the exact same thing if your dad was like Mr. Badass at it. And obviously his dad was.
And Texas has told him, hey, we're recruiting you as your own man. You're your own story, right? Mm-hmm. You have your own story to tell and that you're going to shape. So, obviously there's a connection there, but they don't want Caden Finley to be in his dad's shadow, so to speak. They're saying, hey, Caden, you're your own man. We're going to recruit you as your own man. You've got your own story to tell. Come to Texas and do it.
There you go. There's that update. All right, let's go on to another Q&A. And this is the first time anyone's ever asked Jason about 5 stars. It's the first time this question ever. How many 5 stars will Texas land in the 2026 class?
You can pretty much take it to the bank when I do these Q&As. I'm going to get that question, and I'm going to get, are we going to have a top 5 class, or where's our class going to rank?
Right.
I'm like, okay.
Yep.
And like I said in my answer, I was like, that's almost impossible to answer right now because all the 5-star designations have not even been handed out yet. Okay. Plus, guys are moving up and down the rankings. Rivals updates their rankings once a month now. So guys are going to move in, guys are going to fall out. So it's really impossible to predict. But I said, if I'm going to assume they're going to have 32 5-stars, which is usually right around where they're at there, because they kind of align it with the NFL draft, first round of the draft. And if I look at the rankings, Chad, I predicted Texas landing 3 5-stars. And I'm going to go through some of the names that would be 5 stars that Texas is in on. Richie Wesley, he's committed to Oregon, but he's going to visit Texas. Texas has a shot there. Felix Ojo, Texas has a pretty good shot there, right? Derek Cooper, the running back out of Florida. Texas needs to get him back in for an official visit. That's supposed to happen, but I haven't heard that a date is locked in yet. I was going to say Booby Feaster, but they're not really involved there. Okay, we get down to Lamar Brown. We talked about Texas has a good shot there, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Jake Pruill is a defensive end out of IMG Academy in Florida. They're in the mix. Texas is in the mix there. Samari Matthews is a cornerback out of North Carolina. We talked about him. He's number 29 in the country. So if he's a 5-star, Texas, I think, has a really good shot with Samari Matthews. Mark Bowman, the tight end. I think Texas and Georgia probably are going to battle that one out for that one. So Texas has a chance there. So out of all of those names, I could make a case that Texas gets Samari Matthews, Mark Bowman, and then one of like maybe Lamar Brown, Felix Ojo. So, you're just kind of guesstimating, obviously. But my answer was I'm going to predict Texas to get 3 5-stars in this 2026 class.
There you go. Your next question is that they're going to tell you it's not enough, Jason. They want
of
more.
Of course. Yeah.
They want more. Yeah. They want 6, and then they want 8, and then they want 10, and then they just wanted to keep going. Thank you all for these questions that you send, Jason. This is obviously from Orange Bloods folks. And remember, if you want to check it out, orangebloods.com. Let me throw that QR code up a second. The 321 article hits each and every week. There's all kinds of great content there, recruiting wise. So check it out at orangebloods.com. All right. I love this next one, Jason, because it really digs into the quarterback room. So let's throw this out. If Manning stays for 2 years, do we keep Owens, Lacey, and Bell? Who most likely would leave?
Yeah, I don't like predicting like, oh, this guy might transfer. I hate doing that. But, the quarterback room, I get it. It's discussed, and it's kind of a unique situation. But I said, hey, if Manning stays for 2 years, which I think most people are expecting, yeah, I think Texas can keep all 3 of those guys. But if one of them transfers, the most obvious candidate is Trey Owens, right? Because he and KJ Lacey came out of the spring kind of running neck and neck. So if Lacey overtakes him in the fall camp, then that would probably make the most sense. But if Trey clearly beats out KJ Lacey, then Trey's not going anywhere. Trey loves Texas. He loves everything about the University of Texas. He's been as loyal as you could possibly ask for. So, it wouldn't be Dia Bell. Dia Bell would be coming in, be a redshirt freshman when Manning was playing his last season. So, and I don't think KJ is going to run off if he's behind Trey Owens. Trey might play. That could only be a 1-year deal. Or if it's close enough, maybe he recaptures that spot. So I do think it's absolutely conceivable that Texas keeps all 3 of them. And I would hope that would happen. If one was going to leave, the most feasible scenario would be Lacey overtakes Owens in the depth chart, and then Trey says, hey, I want to go somewhere else and maybe try to get a little bit more playing time. But, I haven't heard that's happening. I haven't heard that there's any consideration to transferring or anything like that. I want to be clear. But, I think it's very much possibility that all 3 of those guys stay if Arch plays 2 years.
Jason, correct me if I'm wrong here. Wasn't it KJ Lacey that we talked about as an unofficial, a heavy unofficial visit traveler all around the country? Wasn't that KJ Lacey that took a lot of trips?
He did early on, even when he committed to Texas, but it was mostly like Auburn in Alabama, the in-state schools. He'd go watch them play. You might be thinking of Peyton Houston, who's in the 2027
Maybe
class.
It is Houston I'm thinking about.
Peyton,
okay.
There's rarely a weekend. Peyton's not somewhere.
Well,
but
he's okay.
Yeah, but KJ did take early on, even after he committed, he took a lot of visits just to go watch college football, and he was always very open about it. But as things kind of settled in his senior year, he kind of shut that stuff down.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's a guy that when Felix Ojo comes in for an official visit, is there somebody they could have him talk to? It's like, oh, this guy used to travel a lot too, but let him tell you why he picked Texas in the end.
Yeah, I'm sure we could find someone. Yeah,
there's got to be, right?
Who they have host Felix Ojo. I'd think it'd be Trevor Gooseby, but we'll see when he gets to campus.
Yeah, it's an interesting question there about the quarterbacks. All right, one more, Jason, before we wrap up. I dig this one too, a little more of a philosophical question. Says, Jason, in truth, isn't recruiting as we know it pretty much become a silent auction? Please don't answer with for some yes, for others no. What are they telling you how to answer now, Jason?
Apparently, yeah. My answer to that was no, not really. It's not a silent auction. As we said earlier in the show, I said relationships still matter, right? Academics still matter. Location still matters for some guys. Playing time, playing for championships, those things still matter. but relationships are huge, and NIL is huge. I mean, you've got to get the door open by building a relationship. I said, the way this question is phrased, Texas could just go to some player they haven't even recruited and just say, hey, we're going to make you an NIL deal that's better than what you've got. Come to Texas. And he's going to say, okay, I'm coming sight unseen. No, it doesn't work that way. You still have to put in the legwork of building relationships and winning over mom and dad and grandma and grandpa and their high school coach and whoever else is around them. Am I saying NIL is not a huge factor? No, that's your closer. NIL is your closer, but you've got to have those long-standing relationships to kind of put yourself in position to close with NIL.
Yeah. Heck, there are still kids out there that'll finish up with hey, this school's been on me for a long time. This school has been, reaching out. They're one of the first to reach out, and that relationship's been there. It is weird, Jason, that the NIL part, like the kids almost end up getting insulted as a group along the way. And the school feels it too, but it's like at some point both sides are saying, well, no, I mean, it does still matter if we like one another. In the end, that still has to hold a little bit of weight.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Lamar Brown's not considering Texas without relationships, but does that mean NIL is not going to be a huge factor? Yeah, Texas is going to have to really, get involved in NIL with that one if they want to win. But I mean, relationships still matter in recruiting. Absolutely.
Yeah, you develop that relationship, and then you ask about the relationship with money that you can develop, because that is an important relationship too. There is the last question. If you want to check out more of the Q&A, go to orangebloods.com. Get signed up today. The 321 is there each and every week, and this week you've got the Q&A stuff that's there, that update on Lamar Brown, and then there's other stuff. Like we say it every week. We can't do the entire, go over the entire column even if we tried. But if you really are interested to go see June 6th, who's coming in? June 13th, who's coming in? June 20th, who's coming in? When is Lamar Brown coming in? You did not catch it during the show? Go check it out at orangebloods.com. When is Ojo coming in? When's Turntine coming in? KJ Edwards, Crowell, all these names that we've been throwing out. All those names we've been throwing out. You can check out when they will be visiting. Jason gets you the latest information at orangebloods.com. All right, Jason, before we close up, anything else? We've hit a lot today. Started with Lamar Brown, hit a little Q&A. What else do we need to hit?
I think we've covered most of it. There's a Max Wright update in there that people will find, Texas fans will like. There is an elite camp this weekend down in Austin, the UT Elite Camp on Sunday. So we'll have some coverage out of that. Guys like Malachi Ziegler, quarterback, will be supposed to be in town for that. So we'll see. Might have some new offers coming out of that event. So Texas Elite, their first elite camp is this Sunday. So we are at a point now, Chad, where the next month is going to be very chaotic. So if you catch me nodding off during one of our shows, you'll understand why. So,
if you see a battery and some cables hooked up to Jason over the next few weeks, you will know why. It is always fun to cover it all. And those 3 big weekends are coming up, Texas fans. So thank y'all for checking out Orange Bloods Live. Remember to like, subscribe, get your notifications. Thank you for all the support. And remember, the recruiting hour premieres each and every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Thanks to Longhorn Wealth Management Group for being our presenting sponsor. Y'all take care. Have a good week. And remember, recruiting never stops. Take care. See ya.